Victoria Maxwell is telling her story on campus tonight. She calls herself the Bipolar Princess. She's performing her one-woman show, Crazy for Life, at TRU tonight, and we have her on the line. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi. So, one-woman show about your bipolar disorder. What was it that inspired you to tell your story this way?
A couple things. One, I was trained as an actor, and when I was actually got back on my feet after being diagnosed in the long recovery process, I was craving to do something more creative. But also, I think, this is probably 14 years ago, I didn't have a lot of other, what I call garden variety faces of mental illness reflected back at me. So I wanted to, by sharing my story, I really wanted to hear other people's stories of recovery in particular. I didn't relate to the celebrities I knew about, and I didn't relate to people who had sort of fallen through the cracks or where the system had failed and were maybe on the streets or drug addicted and things like that. So it was a part of, I think, in some ways, part of my own recovery process.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your illness and how it affected your life?
Yeah, it more or less derailed it. So bipolar disorder refers to experiencing two severe mood swings, not general emotions or general moods that everybody goes through, but to the point where they are disabling. So for me, I would go through maybe a regular period of mood where it wasn't interfering, and then I'd go into really, really severe depression with what they call suicidal ideation. So for many times I felt very suicidal. Then I would swing into a more what they call manic phase, where I'd have lots of energy and sort of euphoric and sometimes feeling grandiose and really overly confident and things like that, to a point where I would be doing risky behavior. So what it did is it interfered with my relationships. It interfered with my ability to work, to concentrate. And really, for a long time, what I was doing was just fighting this dragon every time I woke up, either wanting to not be around because of the depression, or just burning bridges because of the manias. And mine also went into psychosis, which is very much like what you hear about when people have hallucinations and auditory hallucinations as well. So it was quite a journey for sure.
How did you get help for this?
Well, one of it was that in one of my psychosis, I was running down the street naked, and usually people think that that's sort of an unusual thing to do in a demographic where it's not a clothing optional street.
Yeah.
And I was picked up by the police in an ambulance. But even when I was diagnosed, it still took me a good few years to accept the illness, and so it was a combination of my mom and dad's support. Finding a really good fit with a psychiatrist. I went through a number who I didn't work well with. And when I finally accepted the illness, that's when the recovery process could really take hold, because I was directing the recovery process. I was contributing. I was a partner in it instead of it being foisted upon me. And so it's been a combination of medication and therapy, exercise, eating well, sleeping, some of the very common sense things, but that are really essential for people with mental health issues and mental illness.
Is there still much of a stigma around mental illness?
It's changed a lot, I think, but yes. I think oftentimes in different sectors, it's still the elephant in the room. One of the reasons I think we don't see, we hear sort of the very sensationalized and very tragic stories with mental illness. We don't hear the commonplace stories, because people, realistically are still afraid of the repercussions in the workplace if they admit that they've been in the psych ward instead of the acute cancer ward. It's not a casserole kind of illness. People don't come and visit the psych ward very often. So I think we've come a long way, and we've got a long way to go. But I think we really are at a tipping point, and we'll probably be there for a while, but it's a good place to be.
What's the message you're trying to get across on stage?
That one, really letting go of a lot of the myths that if you are diagnosed with a mental illness, it doesn't mean that you can't recover. that you can't have a really great quality of life and enjoy life again and contribute and follow your dreams and things like that. And that reaching out for help takes some of the most courage, and it is the strongest people that reach out for help. And so asking for help does not mean you're weak. It means you have a lot of insight and you know that you want to get well. And really it's about taking away the shame, and ideally just taking away the shame and secrecy of the illness so people talk about it. And the more we talk about it, that's how change happens.
So when you perform your one-woman show at universities, how does the audience respond?
Really positively. I think it's not surprising to me, but in some ways it always is. It's really heartening that the themes are universal, regardless of even if you don't have a mental illness. It's a lot about just struggling with something that is an obstacle in your life, where you feel like you can't meet the challenge. But what I feel really fortunate to be part of is where people come and they say, "You've just told my story," and or particularly if a friend comes up and says, "I know my friend's going through this. I think I know a little bit more how to, support her or him, or maybe I can encourage that person to reach out for help." So it's a lot more common than we admit. Most people I know someone or is related to someone, or they themselves have had some experience with mental illness. And so to not be talking about it needs to change.
Victoria, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
I hope people come to the show.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Victoria Maxwell. Her one-woman show is called Crazy for Life. It's free. It's open to everybody.